There's a moment, and I've heard this from someone who worked the fragrance floor at a London department store for 11 years, when you can tell exactly who a person is by how they smell a bottle. Most people grab it. Spray it on the card. Wave the card around like they're trying to dry it faster. Then, decide in 4 seconds whether they like it. Catherine doesn't do that. She doesn't do any of that. I was working a Tuesday. Late autumn, the kind of morning where the light comes in sideways and everything looks a little golden and a little sad at the same time. The store had been open 40 minutes. The fragrance hall was almost empty, just me, and my colleague Rosie at the other end of the counter, and the particular silence that expensive rooms make when nobody's spending money in them yet. The door opened and cold air came in with her. She wasn't in anything remarkable. Dark coat. Hair down. No visible security, though I know now there was someone near the door the whole time. She moved the way certain women move when they've learned, somewhere along the way, that being seen is a kind of cost. Not hiding exactly. But not available either. She came to the counter and she said very quietly, very normally, that she was looking for something specific, and she wasn't sure it existed. I asked her to describe it. She said, something that doesn't announce itself. I've thought about that phrase probably 200 times since. Something that doesn't announce itself. Because that's the whole problem, isn't it, when you are her? When you walk into a room and people already have a version of you running in their heads before you said a word. When the clothes, the hair, the smile, all of it precedes you. Always. Everywhere. A perfume that announces itself just adds another layer to the performance. She didn't want a signature scent in the way celebrities do, the thing that becomes their brand, their trademark, their smell that paparazzi can't photograph but the public somehow absorbs anyway. She wasn't shopping for a statement. She was shopping for privacy. The kind you wear on your skin. I pulled 3 bottles without letting her touch them yet. I explained each one the way my mentor trained me, not the notes, not the pyramid, not the marketing language about base of amber and warm musk. She hated that. She told me early on, tell me what it actually is, not what they want me to think it is. So I told her. The first one I said was like being in a greenhouse in February. Damp green and something underneath that was almost animal. She considered this for a moment. She said, that's interesting. What does interesting mean here? I said it means it's not comfortable. It's not meant to be worn to make people relax. It's meant to be noticed. She moved on from it without picking it up. Here's what people don't understand about how she approaches this. It's not about luxury. It's not about rarity or heritage or whether the brand has been supplying royals since 1862. Those things are real, but they're almost beside the point for her. What she's doing, and I watched her do it over the course of an hour that felt like it had its own weather system, is something closer to testing. She's testing congruence. Whether the thing she's considering matches some internal truth she already knows but hasn't articulated yet. The second bottle I offered was quieter. A dry, woody thing with something faintly medicinal in it, not unpleasant, but demanding in a particular way. She sprayed it on the inside of her wrist and, then, she did something I've only seen a handful of people do correctly. She waited. Full stop. No waving, no sniffing immediately. She just waited. Talked to me a little. Asked about the house, when it was founded, who their perfumer was currently, what the perfumer had said they were trying to do with this particular one. She engaged with it like a project. Like homework she was genuinely interested in. 5 minutes. Maybe 6. Then, she lifted her wrist and breathed in. Her face didn't move the way people's faces move when they found something they like. There was no oh moment. No brightening. What happened was more like the opposite, a very small closing down, a slight stillness that I've come to recognize in the years since as the thing she does when she's actually feeling something. She said, there it is. Rosie had drifted closer, pretending to restock something. I could feel her listening. The princess tested the wrist again. Then, she said something I wrote down that night in the small notebook I keep in my coat pocket. She said, "The problem with most perfumes is that they're optimistic. This one isn't. This one just is." I've tried to explain that distinction to people who weren't there, and most of them look at me blankly. But she's right. She's absolutely right. There's a kind of fragrance that performs joy. That was engineered in a lab to make the wearer feel, and make others feel, that everything is abundant and beautiful and forward-moving. These are not dishonest scents. They are genuinely beautiful. But they are aspirational in a way that requires you to buy into an aspiration. She wasn't buying into aspirations. She was looking for something that would sit on her skin and just exist alongside her. Without commentary. Without ambition. She took the second bottle. But she didn't stop. This is the part that surprised me the first time. Because most people, even people with very refined taste, even people who know exactly what they're doing, find the thing they want and they buy it and they leave. The acquisition is the point. She stayed another 20 minutes. She went through 3 more. Not because she was uncertain. Because she was curious. Because she wanted to understand the whole shape of the question she'd been asking, not just the answer she'd already found. She smelled something that I'd have bet money she'd love, a classical sheeper, old school, the kind of structured elegance that should have been exactly her. And she held it for a long time, and then she put it down very gently and said, "That's who everyone thinks I should be." She bought the quieter one. I didn't see her again for almost 2 years. When she came back, she was wearing the one she'd bought. I could smell it when she came through the door. This is not something I can prove. Scent memory is strange and unreliable, and I might have constructed this whole thing backwards from the knowledge of who I was looking at. But I don't think so. I've been in this job a long time. Some things you just know. She looked different. Not older exactly. More resolved. Like a piece of furniture that's finally been put in the right room and has stopped apologizing for its dimensions. She came to the counter and she remembered my name. Which is, you have to understand, the kind of thing that sounds small and isn't. When someone moves through the world the way she does, with the volume of people and events and obligations crashing through every day, remembering the name of the woman who sold them a perfume 2 years ago is not an accident. It's a practice. Something they've decided to be. She said she'd been wearing it and she'd run low and she wanted another, and also, was there anything new I thought she should know about? I showed her 4 things. She went through the same process. The waiting, the listening, the questions about the house and the perfumer, the deliberate removal of anything that had marketing language attached to it. She had opinions. Strong ones. She dismissed one almost immediately. "Too much vetiver," she said, "it sits too heavy on my skin," which I appreciated because she said my skin, not the skin, not in general, but specifically hers. She understood that perfume is not a universal experience. She found something she liked in the third one. She bought 2 bottles. One for herself and, she said this so quietly I almost missed it, one for her daughter. Just that. No elaboration. I think about her method a lot. Not because it's glamorous. It isn't, particularly, it's methodical and slow and not very photogenic. What I think about is the discipline of it. The refusal to be rushed into something just because it's beautiful or expensive or famous or appropriate. She was choosing a private thing. In a life that has very few private things left. And she approached it with the same seriousness that I imagine she approaches everything she can still control. The small sovereign decisions. What sits on your skin? What the people closest to you can smell when they come near you? What you leave on a scarf or a pillow or the collar of a coat? There's a kind of power in that. The quiet, unwitnessable kind. The kind that doesn't announce itself. When she left the second time, the cold came in through the door again with her absence. Rosie came over and stood next to me, and we both just stood there for a second not saying anything, watching the door close. Then, Rosie said, "She knows exactly who she is, doesn't she?" Not a question. Just the thing the room was already thinking. Some people spend their whole lives choosing what to perform. A few rare ones spend it choosing what to keep.